everyone, I'm David Aragona, and this is the 2021 TimeformUS Road to the Derby series. This week we've got a couple Derby preps taking place, both worth 10 points. One is the Sam F. Davis at Tampa Bay Downs. I did a video on that. But in this video, we're going to take a look at the Grade 3 Withers on Saturday at Aqueduct. It is the 8th race on that Saturday card. Let's throw up the field for this affair. This race is pitting the recent winner of the Jerome, number 3, Capo Cane, against a couple recent maiden winners who are moving up in class, including the number 5, Risk Taking, who I made the favorite on the morning line, as well as the number 7, Donegal Bay, who's shipping up from Gulfstream Park for Todd Pletcher. Before we get into these contenders, let's take a look at the TimeformUS pace projector. This race is projected to feature a fast pace. You see the number 3, Capo Cane, that Jerome winner, along with the number 4, Mr. Doda, a long shot, and the aforementioned number 7, Donegal Bay, all projected to vie for the early lead. And that makes a lot of sense because Donegal Bay was a need the lead type when he broke his maiden last time. Capo Cane has done his best running on the front end. Even the rail horse, Shack Queen King, the number 1, he's shown some tactical speed in recent start. And that stretch out sprinter, the number 4, Mr. Doda, who's a big price on the morning line. He's coming out of a 5.5 furlong maiden victory. So you would imagine that he's in here to show some speed as well. So this does seem like the kind of race that could heat up on the front end, and potentially that could work against the number 3 Capo Cane and prevent him from collecting his second stakes victory in a row. We'll get to him in a little, well, let's actually jump right into Capo Cane. I made him the second choice in the morning line, but I think he is a good place to start in this race. He broke his maiden at Parks, not really sure what he was beating in that spot, and he came into that Jerome last time with a lot to prove. Let's take a look at that victory by 6 1/4 lengths. Well, he answered this question at the very least. Again, I'm not sure what was behind him in this race. The number 4, who Eagle Orb is finishing second here, he is back in this Withers, so he's a long shot this time. And the other horse who took money in this Jerome, Swill, he was a big disappointment, fading to finish off the board. So Capo Cane will have to answer the class question and the distance question as he moves up here. But he was certainly visually impressive winning this race. I don't love the way he drifted out through the stretch there, just showing a little bit of greenness. And furthermore, January 1st was a day at Aqueduct that did appear to be favoring speed. You see that red color-coded race rating box in TimeformUS PPs that indicates a day that our chart show was intensely speed favoring. So that might have helped Capo Cane a little bit, as did the fact that the pace was a little slow. You see that blue color-coded pace figure in his PPs for the last race. So he definitely had things in his favor last time, might not have things in his favor this time, given that pace projector, but he is a horse with some ability, so I don't want to totally discount him. The horse that I think will be favored in here, and the horse that I've landed on as my top pick, that's the number 5, Risk Taking. This is the Chad Brown trainee that won at this distance, at this track last time, earning a pretty respectable 103 TimeformUS speed figure. And looking through this field, he probably just has to repeat that performance to be pretty tough in here. Let's take a look at that last out victory on December 13th at Aqueduct. I loved everything I saw from him this day. He was getting blinkers for the first time, and you could see a real change in his demeanor with those blinkers added. He was just way more in the bridle early in the race, always traveling like a winner, even coming around the far turn. You could see that he was traveling much better than the 2 horses that he was stalking. And once Jose Lascano peeled him out of the top of the stretch, he pretty easily runs by these 2 horses. And I like the way he's finishing up across the wire, like a horse that really relished this 1 1/8 distance and is not going to mind more ground in the future. And that really is supported by his pedigree. He's by Medaglia d'Oro, a real classic distance influence. And on the dam side, a lot of stamina pedigree, even on the turf, some horses that went marathon distances. So Risk Taking just seems like a horse that's tailor-made for this 1 1/8 Withers. And based on the pace projector, the fact that he's going to get pace to close into again, and the way that he ran over this track and distance last time, just feels like there are a lot of arrows pointing to this horse. Not sure we're going to get much price. I think he is going to be the favorite in this race, but he just seemed like the right way to go for me in this Withers. Though there are some other contenders to consider, including a couple of Todd Pletcher trainees, both of who broke their maidens last time out. The one that I think will take a bit more money is the number 7, Donegal Bay. He broke his maiden last time out at Gulfstream Park on December 12th. Let's take a look at that performance. He got to the front in the early part of the race, going this 1-turn mile, began to get away from this field around the far turn, and just shut the door by the time they got to the top of the stretch. Others were trying to close. They really couldn't make up much ground, and he ran away to the wire. From a visual standpoint, he looked pretty good in this race, but do note this race took place on December 12th, and that's a day at Gulfstream Park that did appear to favor horses that were on the early lead. Some might even say there was a bit of a rail bias on that card, and this horse was in the rail path until they got to the stretch. But really, though, I think speed was especially especially dangerous. And we've seen some horses who had big victories setting the pace on that December 12th card not come back and repeat those performances, including Prime Factor, who was the favorite in the Holy Bull last weekend at Gulfstream. He broke his maiden on that December 12th card, came back and regressed. And Tax, who was one of the horses in the one of the favorites in the Pegasus World Cup, he won the Harlan's Holiday on that December 12th card and came back and was a big disappointment in that Pegasus World Cup. So I just think we need to see some validation that those front-running performances on December 12th are really all they're cracked up to be. The other Todd Pletcher horse to consider is the number 6, Overtook. This one has the opposite running style of the Donegal Bay. This horse is a deep closer. Like Risk Taking, he broke his maiden at Aqueduct last time. Let's take a look at that performance from December 20th. Now, the good things that you can say about this is that he came from off the pace. His running style will fit the projected race flow here. The negative is that this was a pretty slow race, and it looked like a somewhat hungry field coming in, and he's not the most visually impressive horse winning this race. I think it's one of those races that looks a bit more impressive when you see the running line on paper than it does when you actually go back and watch the replay, because they went pretty fast up front, and more than Risk Taking kind of running by this field with a big burst of speed, it was more of the fact of others just kind of collapsing to his inside, and he more won the war of attrition than really proved to be best in this race. So I think he deserves credit for finally breaking his maiden as a $1 million son of Grade 1 winner Got Lucky by Curl, and he's got a big pedigree. He's supposed to continue to improve with added starts and added ground. I just think he still has plenty to prove in this race, and he's going to have to run faster to get over the hump and beat the winner of this graded stakes event. One more horse to discuss is the number 2, Royal Number, a Laurel Shipper. There are a couple of those in this race. I think Royal Number, though, is the one that makes a bit more sense than Shack Queen King, who's drawn the rail. We'll take a look at Royal Number's last start at Laurel when he won on January 9th, an optional claiming race, and he was visually impressive this day. He made a decisive move up the rail to take the lead at the top of the stretch, and you see he's just going to draw away here in hand, not even being asked for his best from Julian Pimentel, as everybody else is under a drive behind him, and he's just under a hand ride to the wire. A very impressive race, going 1 mile and 1/16 around 2 turns, so this 1 mile and 1/8 distance around 2 turns at Aqueduct, he should not have a problem with that. And that 108 TimeformUS speed figure, that is the highest last out number out of anybody in this race, even higher than the last number earned by Risk Taking. So if he repeats that, he's going to be tough in here. I think you just have to ask, where did that come from? Also, he earned that race, that high speed figure with the addition of Lasix after having not raced with Lasix in his prior starts. So you might wonder if the Lasix going on was a reason that he ran that bigger number, because now he has to come off Lasix to compete in this graded stakes race in New York. So some questions about whether he can repeat that performance, but I think if he does, he'll certainly be in the mix here. Nothing too clever for me in this Withers. I picked the 2 morning line favorites in that order. The number 5, Risk Taking, over the number 3, Capo Cane. I respect both of these horses' ability. I just think this race is going to set up a little better for Risk Taking, and that he's going to be the one that relishes added ground as they continue to go longer distances, progressing down this Kentucky Derby trail. So it's Risk Taking for me in the Grade 3 Withers on Saturday at Aqueduct.